At 6:07 a.m., my doorbell shattered the quiet, and I knew before I even reached the hallway that it wasn't a neighbor. It was trouble on the porch. Stood the HOA president, Pamela Hastings, 2 security guards at her shoulders and a tow truck idling at the curb, exhaust curling in the cool desert air. She held up a red stamped notice like a sheriff's badge and said, "Real calm. 10 minutes to remove your unapproved structure, or we start compounding fines and seize your vehicle as collateral," she meant. The little ramp I built so my mom, Ruth, fresh off a hip replacement, could get in and out of the house without taking those front steps, one trembling inch at a time. And in that moment, I felt my stomach drop, but I also felt something else, a kind of quiet stubbornness that shows up when someone tries to bully your family and thinks paperwork will make it feel polite. I should tell you who I am. So this makes sense. I'm Miles Carter. I live in Cedar Grove Meadows on the outskirts of Henderson, Nevada. A tidy place with glossy newsletters about standards and mailbox paint charts. No one asked for. I work nights doing tech support, so mornings are my slow time. Coffee, sunlight. Under the Palo Verde, helping Mom down the ramp we built on a Saturday with a borrowed circular saw and a city PDF open on my phone so I could measure the slope right. I sent the HOA pictures the same day, figured I'd get a rubber stamp and maybe a nice line about keeping things safe. What I got instead was a fluorescent yellow tag curling on my door. In the heat ramp, not approved, removed by Friday. Fine, $500, and when I found Pamela pacing the sidewalk with a clipboard and sunglasses that reflected my ramp like a crime scene, she didn't ask questions. She didn't look at my mom, she just said approval comes before construction. It's in the guidelines, and when I told her it was temporary and ADA friendly, she gave me this flat smile and said, "We don't recognize temporary." Here, you know what I mean? That tone people use when they've already decided they're the rules. I emailed the Architectural Review Committee with measurements. Photos, the exact line from the city's accessibility guidance. 3 minutes later, a denial came back. Not from the committee, from Pamela herself. No vote, no signature. Block, just one word, denied. And an hour after that, my key fob for the pool and clubhouse went dead, with a line in my inbox that read, "Amenities suspended, pending compliance." I told my mom it was a glitch because I didn't want her thinking the ramp that let her breathe a little wasn't welcome on our block. Then the little tickets started to fall like hail, a violation for a trash can. Visible for 3 minutes after pickup, a $250 for mailbox paint that was apparently more eggshell than sand. Parking with my bumper facing out. When I called to ask where that was in the bylaws, Pamela rang me back on speaker. Said it was in a policy memo she issued last quarter. "We're tightening standards," she said. I asked again to point to the actual bylaw. She said we're operating under best practices, which if you've ever dealt with this, dance translates to. Because I said so. So I started recording calls, porch conversations, the tone in my own voice as I tried to keep it level. Because you don't know you're building a case until you are. My neighbor Evelyn Shaw, retired paralegal, raises monarch butterflies like tiny miracles in her yard, waved me over one afternoon and slid a manila folder through the fence. Slats inside were photocopies of other people's letters, patio chairs fined for being visible through a gate, milkweed plants labeled as weeds, a flag bracket. Off by half an inch, people pay. Because they're tired, she said. Pamela banks on that. And I'll be honest, I felt angry. but I also felt small for assuming reason would be enough. The morning of the tow truck, I stepped onto the porch, turned my phone camera on, and told Pamela I was recording for the appeal file. She leaned into the frame so close I could see the reflection of my ramp in her lenses, and said, "Perfect. Record, this too non-compliance triggers compounding fines of $1,000 per day." The guard shifted like he wished he was anywhere else inside. My mom's mug rattled a little against the table, and I understood this wasn't about a ramp anymore. It was about process, and who gets to pretend they own it. I called a homeowner rights clinic and got a volunteer attorney. Alyssa Chen, who didn't tell me to calm down or pull the ramp. She told me to ask for documents, bylaws, minutes, architectural decisions, election results, fine, ledgers, the roster of the architectural committee. With vote tallies, Nevada gives members a right to inspect certain records. Put the statute in writing, she said. So we did clean. And boring certified mail. I even made a copy for the freezer because my grandmother swore nothing bad happens to paperwork next to the ice cubes, and I needed her luck. Pamela denied the request in one sentence due to ongoing enforcement. "You're restricted from records." Alyssa laughed, lawyered. A second letter citing chapter and verse. We gave a deadline, and 20 minutes later, a bright orange intent to lien. Notice bloomed on my garage with small type about foreclosure for unpaid assessments. I set my phone on this driveway and read it out loud into the lens because I realized the one thing a bully hates more than no is a record. Then the twist. A man named Trevor Mills, early 50s. Crisp polo face of someone who learned the hard way. Not to trust the words. "It's fine," asked me for coffee. He used to be the HOA treasurer, resigned in May. Kept asking to see invoices and vendor contracts. The board didn't like questions. He slid me a thumb drive with PDFs invoices from Blue Mesa grounds, billing $19,250 for a median. Refresh no one remembered seeing. Notes from meetings that ended suspiciously early. Long chains, where Pamela was the only one talking, and everyone else replied received, yeah. That happened. And before I sent it to Alyssa, I called the city because I wanted something neutral on the ramp. An inspector named Caleb Rhodes measured the slope and handrail with a small metal ruler. Didn't perform for the camera, stamped a letter that said, "Compliant as installed temporary accessibility structure." I held that paper the way people hold passports at foreign borders. I slid a copy under Pamela's office door with the politest half-smile I could manage, and hoped reason would finally land. It didn't. A special open meeting was announced only after half the neighborhood started emailing recall and audit in the subject lines. The clubhouse filled to the walls, phones up like periscopes. I had 3 minutes, and I used all of them. I set Caleb's letter on the projector. Here's the city stamp. I played an audio clip I had recorded outside a closed executive session where Pamela told her colleagues, "We are the rules until we fix the election." I put up Trevor's slides, invoice on one side, photos of the same median, on the invoice date. On the other, he's waving at the camera. Pamela stepped toward me and said, "Security, remove him." The county deputy assigned to keep the peace didn't move. Just looked at the guards and then at her, and the room exhaled. Like someone had cracked a window that night. Pamela sent a final order bus to me. Remove the ramp in 24 hours. Or it's $1,000 per day, seize elections. Legal amenities, I replied, all with the inspector letter, and a demand for a member vote, quoted the bylaw article number. Because if you're going to fight, fight fluently. The annual meeting felt like a fair, mixed with a courtroom proxy forms, stacked like pancakes, a toddler in a Be Kind shirt. The board under a crisp banner. Pamela with that smile people wear when they believe the show is still theirs. I took the mic again and didn't rush. I built a temporary city-compliant ramp so my mom could reach the sidewalk without pain. I was denied records. The law says I can inspect. I was threatened with a lien over a safety aid, and the president told her colleagues on a hot mic, "They're the rules until they fix an election. This isn't about standards, it's about power." That forgot who it serves, Pamela lifted her palms like a talk show guest. Said, "Standards exist for a reason. If we bend because something tugs our heartstrings, we lose what makes this place desirable. We have processes." He ignored them, then she grabbed my papers and fanned them like a deck of cards and dropped them with a thwack. "I won't let one person weaponize a personal situation against the community." That phrase, personal situation, hit like a cold hand around my collar. Alyssa held up the statute printout. The deputy drifted closer to the dais. Evelyn, God bless her, rolled in a little TV on a cart, hit play on a thumb drive. Trevor prepared quick cuts of homeowners, telling small stories about big fines, while a watermark of the Blue Mesa invoice sat in the corner like a ghost then. Trevor took the mic as former treasurer. I requested receipts for Blue Mesa. I was refused. So I took pictures every week on the dates we were billed. The work wasn't done, and Pamela, meaning to mutter, said into her live mic funds had to be moved to cover legal costs. The room froze. A rented parliamentarian. Read the bylaws like scripture. Architectural decisions. Come from a committee, separate from the president, joins greater than 200 per day. Require a member vote. Members have the right to inspect records with reasonable notice. None of that is optional. A board member named Richard finally raised his head and made a motion to void my fines. Restore amenity access, rescind the lien intent, and place the president on administrative leave. Pending audit and recall. Another member seconded. Pamela snapped. This is improper. You're rewarding non-compliance, emboldening anyone who thinks they can break rules if they get loud. The parliamentarian called the vote. Hands went up. Phones counted. The motion passed effective immediately. My fines. Void, amenities restored. Lien rescinded. Pamela removed from duties pending investigation. Her chair scraped as she stood. "Can't remove me," she said. And then her mic popped off, and her words turned into shapes. Only the front row could read. The deputy stepped up, not dramatic, just steady. "Ma'am, please step away from the lectern," and she gathered her papers and left the platform, because sometimes authority isn't loud. It's just final. That's the moment I hold on. Not a victory lap. Not lemonade under the Palo Verde. Just the hum of the air conditioner and the feeling of a room. When a story lands where it was always going, and look, I wish I could say it ends there, but I don't think it does. I still have a mom who needs a careful pivot onto a ramp. Neighbors who want gardens and flags without feeling like they need a lawyer to hang them. And somewhere in a file cabinet sits a folder labeled Blue Mesa and another labeled Elections. That might tell us whether this was one person's ego or a system that rewards the wrong kind of vigilant. So tell me, was I wrong to record the porch, the meetings the moment the smile slid off her face? Or was that the only way to make the truth louder than the memo? Do HOAs protect what we love about neighborhoods, or turn them into places where the lawn matters more than the people standing on it? Where's your line between standards and compassion, between order and accessibility? Drop your take in the comments. Argue it out. Push backs if you think I crossed a line. And if you've been through something like this, see where you're watching from and what happened on your block. You know what I mean?